Welcome back. From this lecture, we will make a shift towards international relations. Right, we'll complete theories of international relations as soon as we can, and that is the idea going ahead. Right, we are done with a lot of theories. Right, we have done a lot of theories till now. We are done with basics of political science, which is half of our work. Right, I will say almost 45% of the work has been done. The next uh, the next the next understanding rest of political science becomes very easy if our understanding of basics is really good. So theories of IR become essentially important for understanding international relations, because it is going to explain and make your worldview with respect to international relations. Right. So what is IR? We'll start with that. Right. What is IR, or what is international relations? Right. Starting at this stage becomes very important to explain what is international relations. What do you think international relations is going to be? It becomes very easy when you understand political science or you understand political philosophy. It becomes very easy to answer this question because international relations, right? Relations between and among sovereign states. Right, read between the lines. Right, this one line explains and has a lot of information within it. Right, between means between two nations, among means among a group of nations. Right, we are going to understand relations between nations, we are going to understand relations among a group of nations, right? Group of nation, how a group of nation will interact with other group of nation. That is, and that becomes very important when you understand IR. Right, relations between two nations and relations between n nations. Right, international relations as a discipline, as a discipline is extremely new. Right, it is extremely new. The term international relations, even though we can see hues of international relations, we can see colors of international relations in previous theories, as we have studied in, let's say, Hobbes. Right, Hobbes state of nature, Kant, Asian values debate. Right, human rights, globalization, and Kautilya. Kautilya, we are yet to do Kautilya, but still Kautilya has hues of international relations within him. So, theory of international relations, right? We have seen some aspects of it, some aspects of it. These some scholars have given some information to us about international relations, but the systematic study of international relations actually began after World War One. After World War One, what happens? What happens? What happens that the study between relations among nations was felt needed. Right, before that, before World War One, the sovereign state was the entity you work with. Right, before World War One, right, there was colonization, there was a lot of that, but absolute systematic study between two nations was yet to be done. So after World War One, what happens that there is Woodrow Wilson chair established in University of Waterloo. University of Waterloo. No, not Waterloo. University of Wales. University of Wales. The discipline of international relations began with establishment of Woodrow Wilson chair in University of Wales. and why this chair was established, right? The next question becomes very important, that why is to that this chair, this Woodrow Wilson chair in University of Wales was established. It was established to study international relations, right? it was established it was established to maintain and establish peace and avoid wars, right? Why discipline started to avoid wars, to maintain peace and avoid wars? The discipline began here, right? Now now if you look at the discipline, it is basically history of wars between nations, right? Whether it be economic wars, whether it be physical wars, whether it be nuclear wars, right? How ironic of the discipline is that, right? Even though the discipline began to maintain and establish peace, the area of study has been study of war, whether it be civil wars, whether it be proxy wars, everything has been about war in international relations, right? When I say the original intention was to maintain and establish peace and avoid wars, when I say that the discipline eventually became study of wars, you have to understand, when I say it became study of wars, it became study of conflict, you have to understand there is going to be a American aspect to it. Very famous saying is there, that saying says, a war anywhere is opportunity for an American. War anywhere in the world, it is an opportunity for an American to do something about it. War anywhere is an opportunity for an American to get profit out of it, right? So even though the discipline began for maintaining and establishing peace, right? It eventually became study of war, and it eventually was written as and studied as an instrument to establish American hegemony, right? The way we understand the word hegemony in WPT, the way we understand hegemony in Gramsci, right? The hegemony in WPT, the hegemony in Gramsci is hegemony of an idea on an individual, right? But in international relations, the hegemony, the word hegemony has different meaning, right? It has slightly, not slightly, but effectively different meaning. What does hegemony mean in international relations? It means concentration of power with a particular country. When I say American hegemony, it means America has a lot of power to do and to control international relations. When I say when I say American hegemony, you have to understand that it is power to power with America. So the discipline of international relations eventually became as an instrument to establish American hegemony, right? So what is the discipline, right? We have studied how did it start in after World War One in University of Wales. Why did it start? It assumed to have started for maintaining international peace and uh, avoid wars, but it eventually became a discipline of study of wars, whether it be economic, whether it be currency related, whether it be actual wars, whether it be proxy wars, grey warfare, right? A lot of warfare is there, chemical warfare. When you say wars, I understand America, and eventually it became instrument to establish American hegemony. The theories were written in a such a way that America could establish and maintain its hegemony, not to maintain and establish war and not to maintain establish peace, but to maintain and establish American hegemony. Right now, we have to understand what is the nature of this discipline, the nature of the discipline of IR, nature of discipline of IR, nature of discipline. Nature of discipline. The nationality, the concept of nationality is not really new, right? Nations are a new thing. Nations have not been existing for a long amount of time. It has been nearly 300 years for which nations have existed. Before that, it was an era of empires, right? There, it was an era of kingdoms. Nation has been a new thing. So the nature of discipline, when I say that the nation is new, the concept of nation is new, so is the concept and discipline of international relations is new as well, right? International relations was a subdiscipline of political science, right? How it was subdiscipline of political science, as I expected you explained to you before, right? Start with Plato. Start with Plato. Why does Plato write his theory? Why does Plato write his theory? To establish Athens as a great state again. Why did he wanted to do that? Because they lost Peloponnesian War, right? So international relation, the cause which was international, the cause which was war, the cause was war, and out of that, effectively political science started. Right? IR was a sub-discipline of political science. A lot of studies with respect to nation and comparative analysis of the nation started way before, but the systematic study did not start till after World War One. Right? So international relations was a sub-discipline of political science. Later, later, when you see fragmentation of empires happened, Roman Empire collapsed. A lot of nation state formed. When you see a lot of nation state forming, there was colonization as well. The nations was the entity with which people started attributing themselves to, right? When there are almost 180 nations today, the relations between them are going to be complex. When relations became complex, when relations became hard to understand, there was need of specific discipline of IR, right? There was need of specific discipline of IR. So when nation became an entity of understanding, IR came into being. But as nations and the relations between nations became complex, there was need of separate discipline of international relations. This is how the discipline of international relations started, right? Why it is complex? Why it is complex? Before advent of nations, you see wars happening for territory, right? Wars happening for territory, as kings used to do Ashwamedha Yagna, and they used to capture territory. The capturing of territory was seen to be birthright. It did not have any strategic aspect to it, even though it had strategic aspect to it, but it was presented as their birthright. To invade another country, it was presented as their birthright. So before advent of nations, the fight was for territory. when nations happened when the nations happened, fight became economic. Fight, of course, was for territory. Territorial fight was there, right? Fight, of course, was to control trade. Fight was for establish military superiority. It was for that as well. Fight was for influencing people, right? To understand psychology and affect psychology of people, right? Information warfare is there. Fight was for saving your ethnicity, right? Because nations are not drawn on ethnic lines. Ethnicity and nationality are two different things. A person, a person, uh, maybe in Kurdistan, right? Kurdistan is not a nation as such, but the in Kurd in Iran and Kurd in Kurdistan have ethnic similarities. They will fight for each other, right? So there is a factor of ethnicity as well. There is factor of religion as well. Then globalization happened, right? Then institutions happened, right? And out of all this, war also continued. But war of proxy war of again 10 different types of war, grey warfare, cold war. So the the relations the relations became so complex that there was absolute need for sub-discipline of political science, right? The discipline of international relations has been studied by everyone, from scholars of history, from scholars of law, from scholars of psychology, but the dominating factor has been political science scholars, because element of political science directly translate in elements of international relations. There is direct correlation. There is direct correlation. So this is international relations. What is international relations? Relations between two sovereign nations. This is international relations. You can also understand it to be a American discipline. Political science is nothing but study of American foreign policy. It is a American discipline, out and out American discipline. When I say political science, I mean American foreign policy, and you will realize why. When we study everything, when we study let's say NAM, when we study let's say Cold War, when we study let's say nuclear deterrence, in one way or another way, America is going to be present there. So political science was study of ideas across the aisle. International relations is study of American foreign policy. Americans do, rest of the world react to it. The act of doing of Americans and reaction of rest of the world is political is international relations. Act of, right? Please try to listen to me very carefully what I'm trying to say. Americans do, the world react, and we study this action and reaction we study, and this is international relations, right? I hope you understood importance of international relations. From the next lecture, we'll start with the actual discipline, what it actually means. I hope you take out of this lecture that I what I mean and what I say about international relations. From the next lecture, it is going to be very heavy. It is going to be very informational, and it is going to be really fun. I hope you understood this. From the next lecture, we'll start with evolution of discipline and models of international relations, right? Models of international relations. Thank you so much. I hope this helped. We'll start from the next lecture.